Welcome back, Trailblazers. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk about a tool that has completely transformed the way I plan and navigate my hikes, AllTrails Plus. As a Trailheads ambassador and the organizer of the Yakima Valley Trekkers, I'm out on the trails a lot. One of my favorite features of AllTrails Plus is the ability to edit and create my own maps. Conditions change, fallen trees, washed out sections, or even a last-minute reroute. And with AllTrails Plus, I can adjust my route on the fly and share it with others so everyone stays informed and safe. AllTrails Plus also gives you offline maps, wrong turn alerts, and 3D trail previews to help you stay on track and make the most of your adventure. And the best part, you can get 30% off an AllTrails Plus membership with my exclusive link in the episode show notes. So whether you're planning your next big trek or just looking for a new trail to explore, AllTrails Plus has you covered. Check it out and let's hit the trail. Welcome to Season 11 of the Hikes and Mics podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and each week we're hitting the trail through conversations with extraordinary hikers from across the United States. This summer, I've had the chance to sit down with some truly inspiring adventurers, and I can't wait to share their stories with you. From rugged summits to soulful solo treks, their journeys will spark your wanderlust and maybe even push you to take the next step outdoors. Season 11 kicks off with a bang and a summit. In the special in-person premiere episode, we hit the trail to the highest point in Arizona, Humphreys Peak, joined by friends Kelly, Bekka, Britt, and Grant for an unforgettable group hike. Recorded both before and after our 11-mile, 3,300-foot climb, this episode captures the nerves, the excitement, trail talk, and post-hike hilarity that can only come from a shared summit adventure. We get into hiking superstitions, trail mix preferences, altitude surprises, and what it really takes to push past the tree line together. For group encouragement to summit celebrations, this episode is all about community, challenge, and the joy of doing hard things with good people. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guests, Kelly, Bekka, Britt, and Grant. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mics podcast. I am here in Flagstaff, Arizona with an amazing group of individuals. The first one up on the panel is
Kelly. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Ivan. I go by AZ Outdoorsy Duo on Instagram, and I started my account after rescuing my dog from Turks and Caicos and really started hiking with him. And it's turned out to just really going everywhere with him and enjoying the outdoors and kind of making new goals and going along the way. So
hi, I'm Bekka. I go by I am Bekka on Instagram. I've been hiking since I was a little kid, but kind of got back into it more recently. Have just been inspired by everybody that I follow on Instagram to just keep pushing myself and doing harder and harder hikes, and started backpacking again recently too.
And hello, I'm Britt with Wanders at Britt. I started my wellness journey back in 2019. I've always been a hiker and love the outdoors, but picked it up more recently pre-COVID. And I really love the outdoors to kind of center myself, ground myself, and work on those well-being practices. It helps me just get one with nature and zen.
Hello, y'all. I am Grant, gallivanting with Grant. I reside in Mount Laguna, California, and I got my outdoor journey started during the pandemic. Wasn't much to do, so I just drove around. I gallivanted to a bunch of different places, and I figured that I could make content out of this. And 3 years later, I'm still trucking along.
welcome, everyone. We're going to get into why we're all here in Flagstaff here in a little bit, but everyone here is a returning guest, so I wanted to get the community caught up with the latest in your hiking adventures. We're going to kick it off with Bekka first. Bekka, you recently completed Half Dome. How did that feel?
It felt amazing. It's an epic hike. It's a bucket list hike. It's steeper than it looks in the pictures. I will say that. It was scary, but it just gave me a lot of confidence after completing that hike to know that I can do really hard things even when I'm scared, even if it's tough. It made me feel like I'm a real hiker now, I guess.
And you got to backpack it, right?
Yeah, we backpacked in, so we did it in 2 days. So we stayed in Little Yosemite Valley, started first thing in the morning and headed to the top of Half Dome, and then came all the way back down that same day.
And I got to ask, what was harder, going up or going down the cables?
Going up was harder, but when I was going up, I was so worried about coming down that I thought going down was going to be harder, but going down ended up being easier, and I did it backwards. So I lowered myself down because I was not going to do it facing forwards because I was looking down that slope and I was like, nope, nope. So I did it backwards, and it was actually pretty easy. You just kind of basically lower yourself down.
And I think one thing that I loved that you talked about before we started recording was the sense of how awesome the community was on the cables, where in some instances it's really difficult to like navigate tight spaces and especially sketchy spaces. But you had a really wonderful experience with the community, right?
Yeah, it was really uplifting, and everybody was just super supportive of each other. It was this really great community, just the way that everybody communicated so well about, okay, if you feel comfortable, you come down, I'll go up, I'll stand to this side, you go to that side. And that really helped with everybody's confidence on there. And one guy came back behind me and he said, nobody's going to die today on Half Dome. We're in this together. And I was like, heck yeah, we are. And nobody died.
I love that. Mr. Grant, you recently made the big leap to move to a tiny home in Mount Laguna. What's it been like, and how's it been being so close to nature and the PCT?
It's been a healing experience. My mental health wasn't great while I lived in the city. And then moving up there, I'm at 6,000 feet and I'm surrounded by pine trees and blue jays and ground squirrels. So it's been a breath of fresh air, literally. And I used to have a coping mechanism when I get depressed where I would just go in my room and look at my phone. But now if I feel depressed, I can just walk out my front door, go on a hiking trail. So it's really helped me heal as a person. It's been beneficial for my mental health.
What's been the most surprising thing about moving into a tiny home that you maybe didn't expect?
Becoming more efficient with my money, because when I live in the city, there's so many things, so many places we can shop at. Like I had a Vons a quarter mile from where I live. So if I got an impulse, I would just go there, get the munchies and, then go back home. But now I'm like 30, 40 minutes from the closest grocery store. So, have to be more efficient with my time and my money and only get the stuff that I need. So that was the most surprising part, is the money that I saved by being up there.
And I feel like a lot of people have a dream of like living up in the mountains in a tiny home. What's the biggest piece of advice that you would give somebody that's interested in moving and doing the tiny home?
Well, it's not for everyone. There's certainly drawbacks. Like it can be pretty remote depending on where you are. There's not a lot of amenities. Like Mount Laguna has a general store, post office, and 2 restaurants and bar, and that's it. So with that being said, the sense of community is really well. The neighbors talk to each other, so that's good. But yeah, it's not for everyone. The space too, it could be kind of small, but I make do with it. I have 600 square feet, so that's enough. But yeah, really research it beforehand. I knew the property manager. She's a good friend of mine, and I've been working with her for a couple years on creating tiny house content. We have a partnership where I stay in one of the tiny houses for free, and then I make content. And so by the time I moved up there, I had a very good idea of how I could live there. So it's been a pretty seamless transition. But to everyone who's thinking about moving to a tiny house, just do your research beforehand. Don't go into it without doing your homework.
I know that you just recently moved there, but were you able to catch a couple of the PCT hikers going northbound?
I was, and it was hilarious because I would say hello to them, but I didn't introduce them. The only time I introduced my name was to 2 hikers, both named Grant. It was the weirdest serendipity. The first one was Grant W and the second one was Grant S. And I thought what are the odds of that? But it's awesome that I talked to them because we share the same name, but we share different journeys. So it's going to be interesting to see if those 2 Grants make it up there. But this Grant is content on living in Mount Laguna and just going on my hikes around my house, and that's it.
Next up is Kelly. Now, Kelly, earlier this year, you completed one of my Arizona bucket list hikes, and that's Flatiron Mountain in the Superstitions. How was it hiking up to that flat vista that's overlooking the valley?
It was absolutely incredible. I didn't think that it was going to come so fast because you see in front of you and you just see it like a hill. And you're asking every time, is it there yet? Is it this one? And it's no, you actually have to keep going. That was one of the hikes that I need to do this. I've been wanting to do it for the longest time, and I would always kind of put it behind me and not complete it and just look over it, right? But I was able to join a group of my friends who were really, really supportive, and literally they were like, okay, Kelly, we're going this day. Are you coming? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll go, you know, and it was really hard. But I think that the support and folks just waiting and saying, okay, go this way. How's everybody doing? I mean, there were snacks being passed around. There's like apples being passed around. That conversation and everybody's stories made it get up to the top so much quicker and easier. And I think once I reached the top, it almost seemed incredible. Like I was down there, you know, not that far ago. So it was pretty incredible. It's a great feeling.
And what was the most challenging part of that hike? Because I hear like siphon draw can be challenging, but then after siphon draw, it's almost like you have to route find the right trail, right?
It was that route finding, just because some of that hike is very technical. So you do have to use your upper body to kind of pull yourself up. There's areas where the trail's not marked that great. So you have to kind of go off trail sometimes and turn around. But because of the folks that I went with, most of them had already done it. They were really helpful in kind of getting people on the trail. But I would say for me, the hardest part was mentally just getting past the I can't do it and wanting to turn around and not having regrets of, okay, I actually did it this time, you know, and I'm just so used to hiking like the shorter hikes with my dog, just, you know, safety reasons. And I've gone longer and longer each time. But Flatiron was one of those that I was like, oh, one day, maybe. So it felt really good.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And again, same question as Bekka. What was harder, going up or coming down?
Going up.
Okay.
Yeah, going up was way harder, especially not knowing where the end was, because I think there's a few areas that felt like it was a false peak, even though clearly it wasn't, you still see it, but it looked like that was it. Like, okay, is it this right here? They're like, no, you go past that. So that was the hardest, just waiting for it to come. And then once you're up there, it's like, oh gosh, that's pretty incredible. The coming down was easier because you've already seen where you're going to go through. And coming down from it's usually a lot easier on a trail. And it was quicker too. So I enjoyed that part more.
How long did you spend at the viewpoint?
Oh man, I think we were there for about 25 minutes.
Lived up to all expectations?
It did. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. Like, I think the first thing I did after I had signal was just text him and how incredible it felt.
You're going to have to lead me up Flatiron.
Let's go.
I love
so
it.
ready for it.
All right, next we got is Britt. Now, Britt, you've covered so much ground across Arizona and beyond. I know Arizona is very different in every single corner of the state. We're in Flagstaff, which is just gorgeous ponderosa pines, huge mountains. Where do you feel most at home in Arizona on the trail?
Most at home in Arizona has to be in the Tonto National Forest. That in itself is so vast in what it has to offer, from like the granite dells to the streams, and then the pines to the saguaros, and then the deserts, the salt. Everything in there is really where I feel at home in nature, and really in the early mornings or the late evenings just to catch the sunset and the sunrises.
Yeah, talking about sunsets and sunrises, I think Kelly snapped a picture of you on a boulder.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Forest?
Yes. Yeah. It was a part of Tonto National Forest. Yes. I did a little bit off trailing there, and I get a little adventurous, and I saw a crack and I was like, ooh, I got to go in there. You know, the picture doesn't do it as much justice as to how big it was. Yes. So that was a part of Tonto National Forest, and we got to watch the sunrise together. It was really great.
That's wonderful. And with it being 118, I think, today in Phoenix, are there areas of the National Forest that you can still visit during the summer months?
You're tuning into Remote Trails Radio. Garrick, you have 35 seconds to answer 4 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are the collection of back roads in Washington that you can discover called?
The Washington Backcountry Discovery Route.
On the trail, what's a helpful hand gesture to give the driver you see going the opposite direction?
Oh, you got to give them the shakas.
A number of fingers for number of cars behind you. What are skinny tires called?
Oh, man, I got some of them. They're pizza cutters.
Which podcast is packed with overlanding advice, PNW gems, and outdoor stories?
That would be the Remote Trails Radio.
Yeah, up in Payson or up on the Mogan Rim. You can visit and camp. There's a lot of places where you can kind of beat the heat and hike to like a creek and, get yourself wet a little bit. Water wheel is always a great one that's super popular. But there's a lot of different areas along Christopher Creek where you can find a little oasis that just seems not too far from the beaten trail, but also a paradise.
And talking about oases, you've been able to beat the heat by going out to some of the local lakes and doing some paddleboarding, right?
Yes, I love to paddleboard. So if I can't catch a trail early enough, I'll be out on the water. I actually have my paddleboard in the back. So maybe tomorrow or on the way back, I'll catch like Knoll Lake or something like that. If not on the trail, I'll be on the water. Saguaro. I recently went to Apache. It's been a while since that road has opened. Apache Trail has opened. And it's perfect because it's a little remote. You can't bring too many boats out there. So it's just a little piece of paradise.
Yeah, and I noticed that the road, because it had been closed for years, right?
Yeah.
How is it now? Like, can sedans make it, or do you still need like a truck or SUV?
I've seen some sedans make it, I have a vehicle. It's not a four-wheel drive vehicle, front wheel with higher clearance that can take it. But yeah, it's maintained, but it's still a primitive road. I don't think I would take a sedan there. I would do something that has a little bit more ruggedness and clearance to make it out to Apache Lake for sure.
Because it's very remote, right?
Yes, it's pretty remote. You go past Canyon and then you keep driving.
Is the lake the end of it?
Apache Lake, Canyon Lake, Saguaro Lake are all apart and fed through the Lower Salt River. Starts, I believe, at Roosevelt and then it hooks through and connects all the lakes there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Can you make it from Roosevelt in one swing down to...
Yes, you can actually take the Apache Trail all the way to what connects to Roosevelt. I forgot what the name is, but yeah.
That's been on my list. It was closed when I was living in Phoenix, so glad to hear that they finally opened it back up. Now, this next question is for everybody, but what was a standout hike or adventure from this past spring?
I'd have to say Half Dome.
It's hard to compete.
Yeah, you can't get, that's a big hike. So it was quite the achievement. And I'd been stressing about doing it for over a year because I was supposed to do it last year and I got a really bad sinus infection. So we didn't do it. So it got pushed to this year. So it's been in the back of my mind for 2 years now. So it was really nice that I never have to worry about it again because I've done it. So, yeah.
And I was sharing with you that I applied for the lottery this year and didn't get it. Any tips or tricks that you can share with the group?
Bring gloves. Bring gloves. If you can backpack and have the capacity for that, backpack it. You can get a much earlier start. You can get on the cables and back down before the crowds get there.
Because if you do it in a day, how many miles is that?
16 plus.
Round trip?
Yeah, it's a long day. If it's a day hike, people do it. I don't know if I would want to. You're starting from the valley and it's a lot of elevation gain. And then you have to do Half Dome at the end and then come all the way back down. So it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, you were saying that, was it your calves that were giving you issues for a couple days after?
Yeah, my calves were pretty tight for about 3 or 4 days afterwards. And I was stretching them like crazy. I have a stand-up desk at work and I was just sitting there doing those toe raises and stuff. And I'm like, come on, work the muscles out. What is wrong? So, I'm older, so it takes a little bit longer to recover from hikes like that.
I think I'm going to be feeling that on Monday.
Yeah, I think I will be too. Yeah.
So the Outdoor Adventures Plus crew and we all went to Montana de Oro State Park, which is in the central California coast near the town of Morro Bay. We camped at a local campground. It was really nice to see everyone bond and get closer. And the first full day we were there, we went on a group kayaking trip and I didn't think I was going to go in. So I gave a ride to my friend, Kat. Meow. That's what we do. We greet each other. But a family member of hers worked at a dispensary. And so she gave me a couple of Reese's edibles. She's like, oh, you want those? I was like, yeah. And I didn't think I was going to go kayaking. So the morning of, I took them, and then I just got this last stroke of courage, and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go kayaking too. So I thought I can do it, and then as soon as I got in the kayak, the paddle was way heavier than I thought. So I overcorrected, and then I tilted over and went inside of Morro Bay. Oh. Yeah, and I thought that everyone was gonna laugh at me and make fun of me, and I went back to when I was in high school where people would bully me, and then I came up, and everyone was concerned, oh, are you okay? They got me out of the water, and It immediately just eased my anxiety. And by some miracle, my phone was fine. My wallet was in my pocket. My belongings were all in my backpack. They were wet, but they were all there. So I went back to my car, changed, and I got to watch everyone else kayak and have fun. So it was really nice figuring out who my family was that weekend. Shout out to Outdoor Adventures Plus, the team. It was awesome. We got to go to tide pools and see sea urchins, rock shells, and we also got to hike along the coast, and we got to see elephant seals, sea lions, a bunch of different wildflowers. If you guys are ever in that part of the world, and to the audience, if you guys are in the part of the world, I highly recommend it. So that was the highlight of my spring.
And was that part of the Nature's Palette series?
No, it wasn't part of the Nature's Palette. It was more of a group retreat. So there were also, in addition to us leads, there were longtime members that joined us for that weekend. Nature's Palette will be coming back at some point in the near future, so stay tuned for that, but can't say too much other than that.
So what was your standout hike or adventure this spring, Kelly?
It has to be Picket Post with her. You know, I think one of the things that I've learned and I've gathered through this hiking journey of mine and as I'm growing is just how amazing the people are that I'm connecting with, honestly, and how supportive everybody has been, you know. And other than meeting you all here, which is really an amazing highlight, is having someone local that it's like ready to go. And Britt has been doing that. But that hike was really amazing because I have a fear of heights, and that was a challenge. For some reason, Flatiron doesn't have like the falls as much, so that was a lot easier for me to kind of manage. But Picket Post was, I mean, it had me in places that I was like trembling and I caught my knees shaking. And, you know, then every once in a while I'd hear, "You got it, Kelly, come on." And that was just beautiful, you know, because I think that we overthink and we let our fears take over. And sometimes it just takes that level of support to get where you want to get to, you know, and just getting to the top. That was just fantastic. Because even then I was also asking, like, is this the top? He's like, no, gotta keep going. But you make it to the end and it's, I mean, the feeling is absolutely incredible to be able to think about what you just accomplished, you know. And the next day I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? Where are we going to go next? You know,
Nice.
What's my next goal? Because it's one of those that I never imagined I ever do.
Yeah.
Ever. I would have never thought about going up that mountain. I've seen it many times. I'm like, no, I'll just keep doing flat hikes. So it's been really a beautiful journey.
How was the scrambling on Picket Post compared to Flatiron?
Yeah, it was fairly similar, I would say. Picket Post goes high fairly quickly. Like you just have a quick elevation gain and you are also scrambling and pulling up yourself. So that came quicker than Flatiron. Flatiron, you have a longer stretch to get there, but the altitude gain at Picket Post, I think, made it a little bit more challenging for me. And the drops, because there were a few drops that I was like, oh, you know, I'm not going to look. But yeah, they were both pretty cool. Picket Post was the highlight for sure.
And one thing that you shared before we started recording that's interesting is that it's one of the few trails that you probably don't want trekking poles on. Like,
yeah.
It's more of a hazard, right?
I think so. It starts beautifully. But as soon as you start going up, I think they are not as useful as you think because you use your hands. At least I did. There's a lot of climbing and finding places to put your fingers to kind of pull yourself up. And there's a lot of same thing for like your feet. You just have to find a rock. There's an area that's pretty shady that I was just terrified. I probably didn't show how scared I was, but it was terrifying because you get on this side of the rock and you look down and literally it's like, right, it looks like you're going to fall off. And it's very slippery if it's wet. It wasn't wet, but you imagine the worst, right?
Yeah.
And that one, that's, I think, where it starts to get pretty technical. Other than that, the beginning is fairly flat. Up until that point, you just don't need them. We didn't need them at all. I would say I didn't need them at all.
Are there any ropes?
There's no ropes.
It's just you finding handholds, huh?
You just find little holes and...
Oh, gosh. My hands are sweaty just thinking about that.
You can do it. You got this. But yeah, it's challenging, but it's extremely rewarding, you know, and there's some really cool stuff people leave up at the post and amazing views. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
My favorite hike this year has been with Kelly. I would say Boulder Mountain, and kudos to Grant for introducing us last year. Yeah, matchmaker. Like around this time, we connected, just a bunch of, you know, people coming together, and Grant and his innate kindness bringing people together. I had the opportunity to connect with Kelly, and we're like, two crazy hikers like, hey, you want to do this? I've been looking at that trail. Let's do it. And then we find a time in our busy schedules to do it. So outside Picket Post, which is a little bit surreal. When we were driving up, I was like, yeah, Kelly, we're going up there. And she's like, up there, up there? I was like, yes, to the very top we're going. She's like, didn't believe it. And once we got there, I was like, yeah, we're all the way at the top in a short stint. But I would say Boulder Canyon would be my favorite just because we had a lot of good conversations during the trail when it come to like just the beauty and what you see in the little things and the gratitude that you have and the camaraderie that you bring through the trail. So there was one part where we got kind of deep in there and we're like, oh, this looks like, what is that? Pandora? That Avatar place? And I was like, oh, take a picture. Like, oh yeah, Pandora. So that had to be my highlight. We were trying to get to Battleship and do the loop out over there. And we didn't make it that far. It started to get hotter on the trail in the spring. And I think we did it around April. So I think that's on our plan next is to get to Battleship, but definitely Boulder Canyon. The beginning of it, I saw cardinals along the trail. We always see so many birds and I love birds. So I've been practicing identifying them. Hummingbirds will just like sit there and circle us. But nevertheless, Boulder Canyon, just how dynamic it is. You have an ascent in the beginning, and then from there, you just see the canyon trails. You see the water from Canyon Lake, and then you go in there, and it just turns so dynamic.
I think the one thing I love about the Superstitions is like you cross off one peak and then you can add another 3 more that are even more technical or less technical. Is Battleship Mountain the next one for the Kelly and Britt adventures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Battleship Mountain is definitely one on my list. We've been planning that for a couple months. And now that it's hot, we'll have to wait until later on, but maybe some backpacking adventures with that, given the length and the shade coverage and such. But yeah, Battleship is on my list for sure.
How has it been hiking with Kai?
Oh my gosh, Kai is the sweetest. I don't know if Kelly was just being kind to me, but she's like, oh, he likes you. He was coming around me and like smelling me and like protecting me and making sure I was okay. I was blazing the trail a little bit and I know he was kind of pulling her to catch up to me. And yeah, he's just the sweetest pup, but just very loyal and then also very protective.
I think everybody let out a oh when Kelly said she couldn't bring him. Hopefully in the next coming months we can have a kind Kelly hike.
Yeah, I actually wore the shirt today in honor of Kai. I look forward to seeing him again.
So the next section of the podcast is doing a deep dive into our guest's IG feed and asking him about a highlight on a specific reel or post. Bekka, the one that caught my attention for you was your spring break trip to Kanab. You mentioned slot canyons, you got to visit coral pink sand dunes and do some sledding down those dunes, as well as following dinosaur tracks. Can you tell us a little bit more about that trip?
Yeah, that trip was really cool. I found out last minute that I needed to take some time off from work. So I was like, okay, let's do a spring break trip. And I just went through my Instagram. I save people's posts when I'm like, that looks really cool. I want to go and see that. Save. So I went through all of my saves and there was so much stuff around Kanab. And I was like, okay, let's just go to Kanab. It's, it's close enough. I can drive. We don't have to worry about booking flights last minute or anything. So we went to Kanab. I took my daughter as my partner and I. It was a really good, like little family trip. Not all my hikes are hard half dome hikes. I love hiking with my daughter too and doing the fun, easy ones. And she loved the slot canyons, like seeing her little face light up as she saw the slot canyons. It was like this playground to her. She's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, yes, she's enjoying this because sometimes she doesn't always enjoy the hike. So it was good to do a hike that we all really had fun doing together. And then the sand dunes were a blast, except literally it was a sand blast to the face. I think we all lost a couple layers of skin that day. There was some microdermabrasion, I guess, as a free facial. And I was literally washing sand out from cracks and crevices for maybe 3 days after that. Yeah. The ears. I'm talking about my ears, okay? Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And what else did we do? Then we went to Horseshoe Bend, and that was really cool. It lives up to the hype. So if you're in the area, do Horseshoe Bend. Waterhole Canyon, we did the Navajo-led tour there. It was really, really cool. We kind of sidetracked the tour a little bit and started talking about skinwalkers, which is kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's my thing now. Kelly can attest. We're always talking about skinwalkers these days. I think, I don't know, Britt might disagree, the cave behind the gas station?
Oh,
Skip it.
yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, you agree? Yeah,
Yeah,
skip it.
Skip it?
Not worth the hype.
Really?
It was just, we went up there and I was like, I'm not even going to go back into the bottom back area of it. I was like, no, skip it. So do Horseshoe Bend, skip the cave behind,
But do the sand dune.
but definitely do the sand dunes. And then Lee's Ferry, we loved Lee's Ferry and the Vermilion Cliffs and that viewpoint. We like pulled over on the side of the road. I was like, pull over. And I almost started crying. I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. You can see like where the canyon's like cutting through. And then you've got the backdrop of the Vermilion Cliffs. And it was just like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It was so beautiful. And I was like, okay, I need to come back and explore this area more. So yeah, do Kanab, skip the gas station thing.
Where'd you end up seeing the dinosaur track?
That was right outside of Kanab too.
Really?
Oh, and then also the sand caves outside of Kanab. Those are worth it too. Yeah.
Super short hike.
Super short, super easy. And then you're just running around. My daughter loved that one too. She had a blast. And then it was really cool because it was kind of busy when we got there. And then the crowds just all kind of left. And we had the caves to ourselves for like 5 minutes.
Oh.
So it was really, really cool. And then my daughter saw some really interesting graffiti and she's like, Mommy, what's that? And I was like, you know what that is?
Yeah.
Petroglyphs? Ancient petroglyphs.
Oh my goodness. Grant, you recently explored the Mojave Desert as part of your California Naturalist course, specifically searching for desert tortoises. What was the experience like, and did you get to spot one in the wild?
So the Transition Habitat Conservancy is a wildlife conservation agency, and they work with CalNet to host a program where you can get your California Naturalist certificate. So you can use that to lead guided hikes, children's programs where they go on the outdoors and a plethora of different things. Jonathan Flores, the leader of Outdoor Adventure Plus, got his naturalist certificate earlier this year. He encouraged me to get it, and so I really respect him. So I figured I might as well do the same, and so I chose the Mojave Desert program. They have like half a dozen to choose from, and so that one was closest to my location. We had 4 field trips that were required, and that was one of them, was to the Mojave Desert. So Sarah Berryman, the Director of Conservation for Transition Habitat Conservancy, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, she knew a spot where there's a bunch of desert tortoises, supposedly. So we went out there in the middle of the desert, my classmates and I, and we took a hike to a dry lake. We drove over to this hot spot, and there was a classmate of mine who had a tortoise skeleton that she showed us before we began searching, so that way we knew what to look for and knew what the shell looked like. And we figured we were going to have to look for a long time, and then within 10 minutes, someone's just like, found it! And yeah, sure enough, it was a desert tortoise. So we looked for another 2 hours and we couldn't find any, but at least we found that one. So what was awesome is that we got to see wildlife biologists on the scene. There's another organization that specializes in desert tortoises called Saving the Slowpokes. They tag teamed with Transition Habitat Conservancy, so there's a bunch of their biologists just crouched down studying this desert tortoise. So they were counting its rings on its shell, to make how old it was. They were tagging it, giving it shots, making sure it was in good health. And they had at the time, I think, like 212 tagged tortoises. Just seeing them at work. You see the stuff on TV or YouTube, and I got to see it firsthand, them studying the tortoise. So it was really cool. Just the fact that I got to see one in the wild was really cool.
And you shared that they have a unique predator that people might not expect?
Yes. So a predator of theirs is the raven. The raven views little baby tortoises as raviolis. They just pick them up, scoop them up, and eat them or give them to their young, whatever. So I have a few wildlife biologist friends that are very passionate about the subject of ravens, and they feel like they should be hunted, culled so that their numbers go down, and they're protected in the Migratory Bird Species Act, but they don't really migrate anymore because they don't have to. Their populations exploded, and then human civilization has moved into areas that's otherwise not populated, so they bring food. So the ravens haven't had to move, so they feel that the old Migratory Bird Species Act is no longer relevant to the ravens. So the raven is definitely a huge problem to their population. I feel like there should be measures taken to eradicate most of that population because the desert forest populations declined like over the past 20 years by 50%. If they're not able to move and reproduce, then it's going to be a tough sledding for their population. But steps are being done. The Transition Habitat Conservancy was awarded a $1.9 million grant by the U.S. government. So they're using that money to not only fund conservation acts, but they're also working with agencies that buy up the land within the Mojave Desert to protect it and set it aside for conservation efforts. So there are great people who are doing their best to help preserve the desert tortoise population.
Now, one common theme I'm hearing on this episode is the sense of community, whether it's strangers on the trail, whether it's partners, people that you meet online and build that trust and relationship. Kelly and Britt, it's been awesome to see your posts together exploring the superstitions and just in and around Phoenix. What's it been like having a new support system on your local trails?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. I think for me, I was so used to mostly hiking solo or just me and Kai whenever we had the time, that I think I took for granted the importance of that community. As much as hiking solo, I think is such a good benefit to kind of focus and find your peace. It's as important to find a good hiking community. And we take that for granted. I actually had a friend reach out to me who was a former coworker that sees my stories all the time. And we had disconnected for whatever reason, but I see her seeing all my stories. And finally, she sent me a message asking, what days are you hiking? Are you not working? Like, when do you hike? So we got to talking and I told her, well, I just post whenever I'm off work or I record content. She kept asking me questions. And at the very end, she goes, any chance I can hike with you? And that just like made my heart explode, because it was the sweetest thing to say, and I could tell that it's someone that's been wanting to do something like that, but just hasn't found that first step to get into it, So I recently shared my experience with the limitations that we put ourselves, especially doing things that we enjoy and being fearful of the what ifs, right? Like, what if this happens? Or what if I can't make it? What if it's too hard? What if there's people? How it's taken me really a long time to overcome that. And I overcome it. I mean, there's still that thinking every day. I think we go through that every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's having a community that supports you. They're like, you got this, girl. Come on. It's just right there. Or having a supportive partner that it's like, let's do this one, or y'all hike with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important, And of course, having Kai, he'll never tell me no, right? He just wants to go, go, go. But back to your point, find your people. Of course, there's negativity. There's unfortunately always going to be, but it's much bigger than that, right? So just find your people and just ask. Don't let the fear of being shamed or afraid, just ask. Most of the people that are outdoorsy or they want to share that journey or they want to teach you, or they want to bring somebody else or they want to be supportive. And that's what I found. So I just encourage people just to step out of the comfort zone a little bit and ask,
We all need a Brit that says, we're going to climb that mountain.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
Are you going to be the Brit for your new friend and be like, we're going to climb that mountain?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with her, it's just starting small. And I see so much in her when I started hiking. And I think in our interview, I told you, like, when I first started, I hated it. Remember that? I was like, I went with one of my girlfriends and we did Camelback. And I freaking hated it, Yvonne. It was like, in every turn, I was like, are we almost there yet? And she's like, it's right around the corner. And that never came until like 4 hours. And it took such a long time. And I hated hiking because of that. Because I'm a planner. Like, I want to see it. I want to visualize it. But part of that is also like, be flexible. It's the outdoors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, make those goals, but also be flexible, right? And it's so beautiful because that friend of mine just texted me as I was coming up, just a beautiful message saying how proud she was that I was doing Humphreys from when we started. And then she said, don't forget, the top is right around the corner. And I just
love that.
almost teared up when she sent that
I
message.
love that. That's
Full circle.
awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is full circle. Yeah.
Now, for you, Britt, you've been able to be the trailblazer for Kelly, and you've also been a trailblazer for your daughter, taking her out on the trails. What's it been like finding a new connection with Kelly as well as with others this spring?
Yeah. So like Kelly, I did a lot of my hikes solo. I think I shared that's where a lot of my healing started, just reflecting and learning more about myself and where my pain points are and how I can just grow. That's really where it started back in 2019, reflecting on who I am as a person. And the older I get, the less cares I give and the more myself I feel. Going back to the community and hiking and having my daughter become attuned to that as well and Grant uniting us together, I think it's great because yes, I am a trailblazer. I'm a little bit of a risk taker. I will, stand at those edges and look down or hang off of them to get a pic. And Kelly brings me a lot of good balance on the trail where she's like, are you sure you want to do that? Or sitting back, like, I'm going to stay over here. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to try. Maybe not just as long or not as far. So it's good to find that community, and being able to invite others to the trail with me is, I think, proof to where I have grown, and allowing myself to be vulnerable with others because I have less cares about what other people are thinking of me, and I just become my own with kind of the yin and yang of Kelly's cautiousness and my adventurous, rebellious side. It's good because it also goes to pictures as well. Like, she's always beautiful and never sweating and just looks perfect in all her pictures. And I just don't know what to do with my hands with my cherry tomato face. So it is a lot of fun to bring people along the trails with me. And I'm looking forward to experiencing that with you all.
And I think that's a good segue into talking about why we're here in Flagstaff, Arizona, and that's to climb Humphreys Peak tomorrow. I think it would be good for everybody to share what they're expecting, if there's any fears or anything that they're looking forward to. Because I'll be honest, for me, the elevation that we're at right now, we're at almost like 7,000, is a little worrying, but I'm really excited to be able to hike with such a great group of people. We'll start off with Bekka. What's your bud for tomorrow? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to hiking with everybody and getting to the top, hopefully. And yeah, getting to the highest point in Arizona. I think it'll be really cool to check that off. I think learning more about myself as a hiker and my abilities and how I can handle elevation, because eventually I, maybe Whitney in the future, but I want to test my limits on what I can handle elevation wise. So tomorrow will be a big test. Prior to this, my high point was San Jacinto, which I think is a little over 11. So we'll see how I do tomorrow.
And you've been doing a little bit of high pointing lately, right?
Yeah, we've knocked out some of the county high points in California. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I get the thrill of it. High point Mike, I'm like, okay, I see you. It's addicting once you start. You're like, this is kind of cool.
Now for you, Grant, what's your bud for tomorrow's hike?
Well, I think I'm pretty ahead of the curve because Mount Laguna is about 6,000 feet. So it's not 12,900, but, it's way above sea level. I've done a lot of hiking in my time up there. So I think I'm going to exceed my own expectations. I don't want to sound too, arrogant, but no, I think we'll do all right. Like I posted a story today, hiking's not meant to be rushed. Mm-hmm. It's meant to be taken in and appreciated. So we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. How long it takes, it doesn't matter. We're going to be together. We're going to have a great time. We're going to share a lot of laughs. So I'm looking forward to it. We will be all right. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to taking everything in and appreciating not only the scenery, but my time with y'all.
And for you, Kelly, what are you looking forward to most about tomorrow?
Tomorrow, really similar to what everybody already said, just reaching the top. Humphreys has been one of those that was never on my list because I never thought I could, quite honestly. So being able to just reach as high as I can, I will give it my all. But just to have an amazing group of people to do it with, I think that's just an amazing highlight to all of it, So taking that picture at the top, that's what I'm looking forward to.
And
that's going to be framed.
Yeah, and I got to give you props because you came up here a couple weeks ago to just see the trail.
Yeah.
How was it back then? Because it doesn't look like there's any snow, but you came across snow last time.
Yeah,
right?
when we came, that was the part of me that was like, I need to see what it looks like. I'm overthinking it. And again, I think as hikers, whatever your goal is, we do this all the time. I think to me, it's pretty normal, right? So it's important to normalize that fear, but also explore at your own pace, right? So I came to check it out, and I mean, it's a beautiful trail. There was ice on the trail. There was some areas that had frozen and some areas where Kai just loved and was playing. And we went up, how long was it?
2 miles left.
We had like 2 miles from the top, but it was getting late because we started late. And that's when I was like, okay, I think this is definitely doable. Granted, those 2 miles are the hardest, and that's where we stopped. But yeah, we got through a lot of it, so that gave me a good confidence boost. I'm like, okay, I actually can do this.
Yeah, what's your bud, Britt? What are you looking forward to most about tomorrow's hike?
Just challenging myself and getting through it together. I think this is how you build community, coming together. I know we've been planning this for seems like over a year. We've been talking about getting us all together, and just conquering it together is really what I'm looking forward to, because this is only the first, I hope, of what we can do together. Oh, who knows? Maybe Everest one day.
There you go. Just high point every state.
Yeah, high point every state would be fun.
And I think for me, it's the sense of community, one, to do a group hike together. And I think there's something about doing something challenging together that really can build a close bond with people. And I've done the gondola, I've cheated, and I've gone to 10,000 feet on Humphreys, but it is going to be something to be up there. And I'm so thankful Bekka gave me a heads up, because she knows I hate false summits, and she's like, there's going to be a couple of them. So I'm just going to put my head down and not count them. Yeah, right around the corner, exactly. It's just the next one over. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I will say there's a little bit of me. So one of my good friends back home, he did Mount Adams for his 40th birthday. And one of the things we do is we motivate and challenge one another on Fitbit to do steps and activities. And for the last year, he has not stopped letting the group know. Did you know I climbed a mountain last year? Oh, let me show you a picture of me on top of Mount Adams. So there's a little bit of me. It's not the full motivation, but to be able to take that picture up top and be like, I climbed a mountain that's a little bit higher than Mount
For next year.
for next year. And then hopefully that could start a trend too, where we're just one-upping, and maybe we'll do Whitney. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. We're going to wrap things up, but for everyone, is there any hiking or travel goals for the rest of the year? Anything exciting on the horizon we should look out for?
If we do good tomorrow with the elevation, then in July, we're going to shoot for Langley, which will be our first 14er. And then if I can do Langley, then we'll try for Whitney. And yeah, Whitney 2026. Let's do it, you guys.
Love it.
Challenge is on.
How about you, Brant? What's coming up on the horizon for you?
So in October, my father and I, just to give you guys some context, for the past 13 and 15 years, we've taken a father-son national park trip together, and this is going to be our first one in the fall. And Ivan is going to be with us at North Cascades National Park. And we're going to do a father-son episode together. So it's going to be awesome. My dad was talking to me this past weekend. He already knows what he's going to be talking about. So he's really excited for that. But yeah, we both think, and mind you, we've been to Mount Rainier twice, Glacier National Park 3 times, Teton twice. So we've been to some amazing places. We think North Cascades could be the most amazing yet. So he's my hero. He's 67. He's still trucking along on these hikes. So I'm really excited. And then having you come along on this hike is going to be special. So I'd say that's what I'm looking forward to.
Looking forward to experiencing Larch Madness with you.
Larch Madness.
So I'm going to say, as far as hiking goals, definitely Battleship. We'll have to do that one. There's a few others on the list that I want to accomplish for the rest of the year. That's one of the big ones. Possibly, I don't know. I've been thinking about another dog. So possibly that. I'm not sure what that looks like. But trying to figure out how Kai would react, and really spending some time in self-care and vacationing somewhere. But it's just hard to hike right now in Arizona. It's just so hot. So it's just waiting for the fall to get cooler to get in some of those goals.
Love it.
For me, it would be backpacking. I'm going to get out there. I know I promised the last time you heard my episode is to get out there and backpack the Superstitions. Not anytime soon here in Arizona because it's 118 where we are at in the Phoenix metropolitan area, but definitely going to get out there probably November, December and make my way backpacking in the Tonto National Forest because that's my home.
Do you have a backpacking trip kind of in mind already?
I want to do the ridgeline. That looks really, really cool just to get up there, do the ridgeline. Kelly and I talked about maybe starting in Boulder Canyon and then going through Battleship, and then I'll find some off-trail places for us to camp, and then she'll endorse it, I'm sure.
Love that.
And Ivan, what are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, the big one, and one of the other reasons I'm doing Humphreys is one of my group members for Yakima Valley Trekkers scored the golden ticket and got a core permit for the enchantments in 2 weeks now. And so that's big on the horizon. It's not nearly as much as this. So I figure if I can conquer Humphreys, I can conquer Asgard Pass. But we're going to spend a couple days in the core, and it's going to be a lot of first-time backpackers. At least 3 of the women on the trip, true inspiration from all of you. They've heard your episodes and they're like, because some of them before they started with the group had really no hiking experience, but hearing people's stories, and especially like now hearing through hikers or people doing challenging things, they're like, oh, I can do that. And now they're doing it. So it's been an awesome thing to see.
Power of community.
And then we are in the preliminary stages, but I think we're going to do a group hike in the Goat Rocks Wilderness, possibly Tammy on the trail.
Shout out Tammy.
Yep. You guys are welcome too. Everybody that's done the PCT has said that Goat Rocks is their most beautiful spot that they've seen on the trail. So that's literally in my backyard. We're looking at a 3 to 4 day hike on a full moon weekend. Yeah. So it should be lit up.
Mm-hmm. It'll be lit.
Yeah.
Right, Grant? Lit.
Good call, Grant. I didn't even think about myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
You deserve the flowers, man.
Appreciate it.
Without you, we would not be all here today together. So Ivan, thank you for bringing us together.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. Now we're at the end of the episode. My favorite part, the this or that questions. There are some new ones for season 11, and we're actually just going to go down the line. So we're going to start with Grant and then go down the line for each question, and then we'll kind of just go back and forth. So the first one that is new for season 11 is if you had a choice between these two, which one would you tackle? Narrow ledges or creek crossings?
Creek crossings.
Narrow ledges for me.
That's really tough. Probably narrow ledges.
Creek crossing.
And this one's a mainstay, but waterfalls or summits?
Things are changing. I am loving the thrill of summits. I can see waterfalls more often and they're easier to get to, I would say, here in Arizona. So I'm going to say summits.
I can't remember what I answered last time, but it might have been waterfalls, but I'm going to say summits because, yeah, this whole high point thing is kind of cool. And being up at the top and the viewpoints, it's all about that view, right?
And I'm going to say both. A summit to a waterfall would be nice.
I like that.
So going to Mount Rainier National Park last year where there's a ton of waterfalls, I grew a greater appreciation of them, but I've always been a view guy. I think it's so powerful just being able to look down and seeing where you came from and seeing what's in the distance. So a summit for sure.
And then another mainstay, switchbacks or straight up. I'd be interested in hearing if this changes tomorrow.
That's what I was thinking about it. So my answer on the last one was straight up. But I'm going to switch it to switchbacks because I've learned over time that it's good to take your time on a hike and appreciate everything as opposed to just getting there.
I despise switchbacks. That is like a false peak to me. It's like I went up, but nope, psych, I'm still there and I can see where I just was. So yeah, it'd have to be straight up.
I also despise switchbacks, but I'm going to go with switchbacks.
I have to go with switchbacks. I think they're just easier for me on my body, so.
Oh, this will be interesting. Trek poles or freehand?
I mostly hike freehand. I've only used trek poles once, but I am bringing them tomorrow because they were very helpful when I tried it out last time. Okay. So, yeah.
I'm a ride or die trekking poles. I have balance issues, so I have to have trekking poles, and they have saved me so many times from eating it on the trail. So, and tomorrow, yeah, definitely trekking poles.
I brought trekking poles, but the group already knows it's going to be like the first time I've truly used them. So I made a joke of, how those guys walk on stilts on their feet. Like that'll be me with trekking poles in my hands. So just watch out, give me space as I learn how to use them. I'm usually a freehander, but looking forward to this new challenge.
Yeah, I'm really similar to Britt's story. I've been a holdout for a long time where I don't need trekking poles, but on the way down, I tend to have issues with my meniscus. So I do think in this case that trekking poles are good. So shout out to Kelly. Thank you for bringing them. I'm still young and using trekking poles it is no reflection on me.
We're all young. You're only as old as you feel.
That's right. But okay.
Dang.
Oh, thank you.
I'm still going to use trekking poles tomorrow.
But you are the youngest, I think.
How old are you, girl?
32?
Yes.
It's like I'm the younger in every group. It's a damn tomato.
You're keeping us young at heart.
I'll be red too.
Now this one, I'm interested because I think me, Bekka, and Grant found out we all are wearing Merrells, but trail runners or hiking boots. Your preference as well as what you're wearing tomorrow.
Yeah, so I've studied the community over time, and the community is more fond of wearing trail runners than there are hiking boots. So I used to be a traditional, lace up your boots, protect your ankles, but it's so restrictive on your movement, it tends to make my feet tired. Whereas the Merrells I'm wearing right now, it's like my feet can move around, but I'm still stable, and it's more enjoyable hiking wearing them. So I have been converted to a trail runner hiker.
The terrain is going to be new for me, so I brought both. I just started trail running earlier this year and not always the graceful because I'm used to my hiking feet and just stomping as much as I can. I have both though, so I think I'm going to start with my boots. And then if I need to, I heard at the top and just in the research that trail runners would fare pretty well just with the cushion. So I'll bring those to switch out if needed.
I wear hybrid trail runner boots. So the Merrell Moab Speed, I think they're called. That's what I was wearing the last time I was on the podcast, and I've stuck with them. I'm on my second edition of them, and I love them.
So I actually was so excited about this hike that I went to get fitted for boots. And, they measured your feet and how you walk and all. I was like, I need to know this because I'm going to go to Humphreys. So I got me a pair of hiking boots, Hokas, and I'm really excited to wear them because they were super comfortable. But usually on the trail, it's the lower, what do you call them? Trail runners, not necessarily the boots.
This is a new one for season 11. When it comes to cleaning up your gear, do you do it right away or do you wait till later?
Oh, no, I wait till later. Yeah. I mean, when I hike in the desert, there isn't much mud in Arizona. There's not a whole lot of water, so doesn't get much dirty. For my water pack, I forget. I get home super tired. I just throw it in the laundry room, and next time I hike, that's when I clean it.
Yep, right there with you.
We clean, we unpack everything. Even after, coming down from Half Dome, we got home and we still unpacked everything. My boyfriend is a Virgo, so I can't not do that. It's not allowed. So yeah, we take everything out, take the tent, the fly, wipe everything down, make sure everything's dry. So yeah, we're not procrastinators at all about it.
The thing I really only clean is my pack, my water pack. My shoes stay pretty clean. I do a lot of trails and I don't really cross too many streams. And if I do, they just wipe off the dirt that's been there for years. So outside of just cleaning my pack, everything else is as is in the Arizona dirt.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Britt where I don't really take a lot with me when I go, so I just hike, take off my shoes, and go in the house, and that's it.
This one's another mainstay. Sunset hikes or sunrise hikes?
So shout out to Just Trek, Justin. I was just talking about this on his pod. I gotta say sunrise, just because you wake up early, you have the whole rest of the day ahead. But I've been a part of hiking groups that have had the sunset hikes and the full moon hikes, so I do appreciate both. But just having that flexibility to have the whole day. You start off the hike on a good note, you got the momentum that's pulling you through the day, so sunrise.
Yeah, similar to me, especially in the heat. I like sunrise for sure in Arizona, and there's not a lot of people on the trails in the morning at 4 or 5 in the morning, which is really nice versus,
I'll get text at 5 in the morning.
Oh, I text you that early? Sorry, I forget. I'm just up. Why aren't you up? But yeah, sunrises just because less crowds. You're able to hear the birds chirping because they always chirp an hour before the sun rises. And that's the best time to see them.
So definitely sunset because it gets a little bit cooler so we can do our evening hikes. In California, there's less people on the trails. If you go into Yosemite, this is a pro tip. If you go into Yosemite in the afternoon, there's nobody there. There's no line at the gate. You can get on the trails and you're alone on the trails because the park kind of empties out in the evening. So that's what we tend to do is sunset. Plus, I love bats and sunset is when the bats are out. So that's my happy hour.
So I will say sunrise. I used to love doing sunset hikes here in Arizona, especially like in the fall-ish when it's like nice and cooler. But I've been listening to some really weird sounds in my sunset hikes. So yeah, I mean, the coyotes come out and those are okay, but there's just been some weird things. So sunrise, parking lot is empty. Watching the sunrise was just so magical the times that I've been able to do it recently. And then you do have, kind of like Grant said, the day ahead and you're kind of going to your cars, everybody's coming up and you're like, oh, I did it first, type of thing. So yeah.
And then you did recently post about a strange sound that you recorded.
Yeah.
Were you able to get some feedback on what it potentially was?
So weird. So I asked a number of park rangers and I had some feedback from you all. Most park rangers thought it was a mountain lion, but they said, we're not sure, but it sounds like a mountain lion. A biologist said that's for sure a cicada, and he was certain it was cicada. Two of the other park rangers said ravens, but it looks like they were warning you about the coyotes because it was a weird raven. But some of my favorite answers, a skinwalker, Terminator, what was the other one? Chupacabra. So I'll stop there.
Okay.
Sasquatch. So it was a jackalope. Yeah. What was so weird about that hike that, you all see how Kite reacts when he sees animals, right? Like he will stop however far the animal is, he'll stop and warn me. Anything, like even like a lizard, sometimes he'll just stop and look at it, Mostly with like deer or like javelinas, he's really good at that. This time, he just like, nothing worried him. He just kept hiking. So I wasn't worried about it. It was just strange enough to want to get out of there.
The next one, Kelly, is spring wildflowers or fall colors?
Last time, is this a new question? Did you just add this one? No, right?
I think within the last couple seasons.
Okay, so last time I think I said fall colors. I have to go to spring flowers just because I am obsessed with lupine and I don't see it in the fall. Yeah. So I just love lupine everywhere. So to the point where like I see a purple flower and it's lupine, right? So I love flowers in spring and all that time, yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite flower.
Spring wildflowers. I have to go with that 100%. I love them. And my favorite thing about it is that at the lower elevations, it starts, where we are, maybe like February. And then you can follow them all the way up into the High Sierra until July, August. You'll see wildflowers. So you get to chase the season.
For me, I think I answered last time fall leaves, but I'm going to have to do spring flowers. The saguaros finally bloomed, and then you can see all the hummingbirds and the bees. So beautiful. Have to go with flowers.
So I'm with Kelly on this one because when I moved to Mount Laguna and I was on the trails on a daily basis, I noticed this purple-looking flower that looked a lot like a lupine. I didn't think there were lupines so close to the Mexican border. It has the coolest name I've ever heard for a wildflower. It's the grape soda lupine and Camp Martin paintbrushes. So it's amazing how you take a mountain that's in East San Diego County and then you have the same wildflowers that are in like Mount Rainier National Park, lupines and paintbrushes. So I gotta go spring wildflowers. But you and I, Ivan, are going to be seeing some pretty awesome-looking larches in October. So I don't know if my answer will be the same. But for now, spring wildflower.
Okay. And then the last one is going to be new for the season. If you had to choose between these two, wind in your face or sun on your back?
So as a Caucasian, we sunburned rather easily. So I gotta say wind in my face.
For me, I have long hair, so I like the wind in my face so it can get my hair out of my face.
This might change after Humphreys tomorrow, but I'm going to say wind in my face because I love a nice cool breeze. But if there's hurricane force winds in my face, I might not like that.
I would have to agree. Also, the Arizona sun is brutal, so I try to skip that. So yeah, wind in my face.
That was it for the this or that questions, guys. If folks want to follow not just tomorrow's journey, but the rest of 2025, where can they find you on social media or online?
Yeah, so I'm Kelly and I am under AZ Outdoorsy Duo. And I will be posting some of our pictures and some of the content from tomorrow and sharing it as well.
And I'm at I am Bekka. That's I.M.Bekka, Bekka.
And you can find me, Wanders with Britt, at Wanders with Britt. If you want to check out any good sceneries of the great outdoors in Arizona or the Four Corners, I'll be venturing a lot over there. I love my sunset pictures and sunrise pictures. So if you like that, come check me out at Wanders with Britt. Kelly.
And you can follow me on Instagram at gallivanting with Grant, gallivanting.with.grant. And also I have a YouTube that I am planning on kicking back up again with the same handle.
And mine is Hikes and Mikes on Instagram. You can also follow me in my group's adventures at Yakima Valley Trekkers. Thank you all for participating in this, and I look forward to doing our rose, thorn, and buffalo tomorrow. This portion of the podcast was recorded after our hike. Shout out to Anna, aka Magic on the Trail, for inspiring us to do the rose, bud, thorn, and buffalo of the trek.
So my rose for this hike was to share in the experience with all of the wonderful people. Kelly, Jared, Joe, Bekka, Britt, and Ivan, of course. And I go on solo gallivants, but I just have realized that sharing in that sense of fulfillment and accomplishment feels a lot better than just sharing it with myself. And my thorn had to have been the wind. I mean, a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust? That's hurricane territory. I was like, Jesus, man, what did I walk into? So yeah, the wind for sure. And the buffalo had to have been the amount of views we could see. Could see the North Rim, the Painted Desert, Sedona, and then Sunset Crater. The list goes on, but I had never been on a summit with that expansive of views.
Okay, so my rose was very similar. Mine was the community of support and the people that I did the hike with. And I was very frightful and afraid. And just having the support of all of you was super helpful and really made the hikes wonderful and possible. So I'm so grateful for all of you. My thorn was a bit of a mental block because of people's feedback of their own experiences. And I overgeneralized it to my own and started having some doubts about making it to the top because of what we were hearing on the way down. So that was a bit of a thorn, but being able to make it was just amazing. And my buffalo was, I have a few things. Having the right shoes and the right gear, that was super helpful. The trekking poles were very helpful. And then just the beauty of the hike itself, the wildflowers, the views, just everywhere we turn, it was just beautiful. So that was my buffalo.
My rose was the same as everybody else's so far. It's just the community. Usually I'm not a solo hiker, but I just hike with my partner. I'm introverted, so I was kind of nervous about this hiking experience with everybody, but it was amazing and I can't wait to hike with everybody again. And I think we're going to try making this like a tradition because we all clicked really, really well. And it was such a great experience sharing this with you guys. My thorn is the wind. It was really windy up there and it still is windy right now and it's cold. And my buffalo is the same as Grant's. The views up there were just amazing. It was like 360-degree views. I think that's why I was so mad about the wind, is because I wanted to spend more time up there admiring the views and looking, but you kind of had to crouch down in this little like rock pile to get out of the wind for a minute. And as soon as you stood up, you almost just got blown away. But the views were amazing. You could see so much. So that's my buffalo.
My rose, just like everyone else's, is the community that we built together and just the memories that we shared together and the several laughs that made me cry and how they were there for me when I was not feeling the best. So I'm just very grateful for all you guys and meeting you and continuing to delve into learning more about each other and experiencing new things together. My thorn would be the altitude sickness. That is real. I had never experienced anything of that in my life. My head felt like it was 100 times bigger. I was nauseous and I was trying to fight it so hard as much as I could. I succumbed to the altitude sickness. Once I went down in better elevation, I was more like myself and felt a lot better. My buffalo is not the squirrel for this one. In fact, it is just the little moments and serendipitous moments that we shared together that show that we were meant to be here today and do the things together today. That would be my buffalo. Just makes sense. Everything is aligning.
So I think for me, it was the same rose as everybody else's. The fact that we were all strangers, we all kind of have met one another through various other visits, but the fact that a group of strangers came together to be so supportive on the trail was just unbelievable. Like, people were just checking up on everybody. Do you need electrolytes? Do you need snacks? Just the whole experience was really magical. And to make it as far as we did, because I'll be honest, I was scared of not just the altitude, but of making that steep of a climb. But we were able to do it, and you guys were extremely supportive throughout the way. That definitely is my rose. My thorn, I think it was the fear mongering, because we started getting more feedback on what the summit was like. And we were hearing like you had to crawl a mile, 100 yards, 200 yards. It was blowing like 70 miles an hour winds, and it was blowing, but I don't think any of us got on our hands and knees to crawl. Yeah, I think it was that. It was just those last 2 miles of hearing the reports coming in, and it was just like some were good, some were bad. It just kind of gave you a little bit of a doubt of like if it was going to be possible. And then my buffalo, I have two. So one was the wildflowers up there. I was not expecting to see wildflowers above the tree line. That was really magical. And then the second one just came to mind was our boy Grant not only eating pizza, but chicken fried steak on the trail. And I'll be honest, I was envious because all I ate was like granola bars and, jerky. And this guy was eating a really good pizza and his chicken fried steak. And yeah, it fueled him to the top for sure. And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Kelly, Bekka, Britt, and Grant. We extend a heartfelt thanks to them for the opportunity to join them on this summit adventure. Be sure to follow them on Instagram by checking out the episode show notes. New episodes will be dropping every Monday with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on these thrilling tales, remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to check out our vibrant community on Instagram at Hikes and Mics. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade. It's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forgo profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, ursaminooroutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, ursaminooroutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order.